Hey guys, welcome back to the Curly Reader. My name's Amanda, and today I want to share with you some of the adult and YA books that I am most excited about that are coming out in the first 3 months of 2022. All right, so last year was my first year doing anticipated releases, and I really loved it. I love kind of getting a look at what was coming up and pre-ordering some of my most anticipated things that I was the most excited about, and just kind of being in the know of what was happening within the book world. And so yeah, I'm gonna continue doing anticipated releases this upcoming year. So today I want to share with you, I think I have 10 on this list, 10 YA and adult books that are coming out in January, February, March of 2022 that I am the most excited about. I will do a separate video for my middle grade anticipated releases, so keep your eye out for that. Today we're talking about YA and adult though, so let's get into this. The first book that I want to talk about comes out on January 4th, and that is African Town by Charles Waters and Irene Latham. If you see me looking down, it's because my notes are right down here. This is a YA book in verse that it is set in 1860, which is when the last Africans were illegally brought over to the US, enslaved Africans. Importation of enslaved African people was illegal at that time. It had been outlawed, but they came over illegally, or they were brought over illegally, and it is just about their experience. So it is told, I think, in 14 different voices, one of the voices being the ship that they were on, so that just sounds very interesting to me. But yeah, so like I said, this is going to be a book in verse, and I just thought that this would be a very poignant an important topic to learn more about. So that is the first one. The next one that I want to talk about is an adult book, and this is a new release by one of my favorite authors, and that is Diane Chamberlain. Her new book, The Last House on the Street, comes out on January 11th. And yeah, this is a dual timeline set in North Carolina, as most of her books are. It is set in 1965 and 2010. In 1965, we are following, I think her name is Ellie. Yeah, Ellie, who is working on the front lines of the civil rights movement, trying to get Black Americans registered to vote. And so just kind of the conflicts that she's running up against, the prejudices she's coming up against, and yeah. And then in 2010, we are following Kayla Carter, who is an architect and is building a house in this same town. And then there's an accident on the building site, and stuff starts happening, and it's kind of rumored that where they're building their house is actually haunted. And then she meets one of her neighbors, who happens to be Ellie, and stuff happens. So you kind of figure out how things are intertwined, and it sounds like it's going to be a good one. I'm excited to check that one out. All right, so then also on January 11th, there is a romance coming out that I thought sounded really cute that I am excited to check out. I'm not a huge romance reader, but I do really enjoy romance. I have a few that have been on my favorite books of the year over the past few years and stuff, and so yeah, I'm always out for a good romance. I don't like super smutty, but other than that, I'm kind of open, and this one just kind of sounds fun. It is about a weather girl. The title is Weather Girl. It's by Rachel Lynn Solomon. I don't think I said that yet. But it is about a meteorologist and a sports reporter who their respective bosses, have been divorced. They were married, they got divorced, and so these two people decide they're going to try to get their bosses back together again, and in the process, I'm sure sparks fly. It just sounds like a good time. So that is the first romance on this list. The second romance that I have on this list comes out on January 25th, and that is The Roughest Draft by Emily Wibberley and Austin Sigmund Broca. And this has to do, it is by a writing duo, about a writing duo, and it has to do with Katrina and Nathan, who were a writing duo. They had a breakout book, great fantastic experience, and then something happens, and they kind of quit working together. However, they're still under contract for another book, so they have to finish out this last book. So they end up meeting up in this small town in Florida to try to knock out this last book. And so it's just kind of about them confronting their conflict of what kind of broke them apart and being in close quarters. And I'm sure it's just going to get a little interesting. But it just sounded really, really fun as well. All right. Another YA that I have on this book, guys, this is probably my most anticipated book of the entire year. I am so excited. Ruta Sepetys is coming out with a new book. It comes out on February 1st, and it is called I Must Betray You. This one is set in Romania in 1989. So this has to do with the Cold War and communism and all of that stuff. So at that time, Romania was still communist. It was run by a dictatorship, and we are following 17-year-old Christian, who really wants to be a writer, but he's not allowed to do that just because of his country, where he lives. He's not allowed to dream. He's not allowed to put things down on paper like that. And so he ends up getting approached to become basically a spy. The government wants him to become an informer. And so it says he's left with only two choices: betray everyone and everything he loves, or use his position to creatively undermine the most notoriously evil dictator in Eastern Europe. I'm so excited. So it's just kind of about him like trying to take down or expose this dictatorship for what it is and give voice to fellow Romanians. And I am so stoked. I love Ruta Sepetys. Historical fiction, it is just absolutely wonderful. I've loved every single thing I've read by her, and I am so excited to check this one out. It has been pre-ordered already. If you have pre-ordered this, they also have, if you check out her Instagram account, they have like a journal that they're giving away if you pre-order it and upload your receipt. So just a little FYI if you've pre-ordered it as well. But yeah, that one is super high on my anticipated list. All right, next one on this list is another historical fiction. Who's surprised? And it comes out on February 1st as well. And this one is called The Lobotomist's Wife. It's by Samantha Green Woodruff. And this has to do with Ruth Emeraldine. I don't know if I said that right. Her brother took his own life after World War I, and ever since she has had one goal, which is to help those suffering with mental illness. She ends up falling in love with a doctor, Robert Apter, who is on the forefront and coming up with a radical new treatment, the lobotomy. And she really believes in what he's doing, is really supporting him and behind him, and thinks he's a genius. And then he starts spiraling into deluded megalomania, is what the synopsis says. And she is growing more and more suspicious that he is being reckless and performing lobotomies on people that don't need them, and killing people and having horrific results from what he's doing. And so she meets a woman that is in his care who has postpartum mental illness, and he thinks that she needs a lobotomy. And so Ruth decides that she's going to try to save this mom and a lot of other women as well. And so it's just about her. And I just think that the whole thing is just absolutely fascinating. So that one made it on the list for sure. Another historical fiction, actually, most of these are historical fiction. Like I said, who's surprised? But the next one comes out on February 15th, and that is The Magnificent Lives of Marjorie Post. This is by Alison Pataki, and this is about the heiress of the Post fortune. So think cereal. This just has to do with her and the life that she leads. She's, brushing shoulders with presidents and things like that, but she started gluing together cereal boxes in her dad's factory, and she kind of built her way up, and she has decided that she wants to kind of own what she has and be a different type of heiress. And it's just about her life and the different lives that she's lived through her progression from being a child working in her dad's factories up to where she is now. And so that just sounded really interesting, kind of reminiscent of the seven husbands of Evelyn Hugo, but not. So anyway, that one just sounded really, really good. All right, so we have a visitor. Somebody is not feeling real well today, but that's okay. So he's just gonna sit here with me for a little while. But all right, next one on the list comes out on March 8th, and that is Booth by Karen Joy Fowler. This is a book all about the Booth family. Think John Wilkes Booth. So it starts in 1822 with his mom and dad and them moving to a little secret cabin about 30 miles northeast of Baltimore. And they have 10 children, and it just kind of talks about their life, and it talks about John Wilkes Booth, but not specifically him. It talks it talks more about just his family as a whole, and that sounded very interesting to me. So I added that one to the list. Another one that comes out on March 15th that I'm super excited about is A Ballad of Love and Glory by Reina Grande. And this is a historical fiction novel about the Mexican-American War. I've never read anything about the Mexican-American War. I couldn't tell you anything about the Mexican-American War. And so that for me was an immediate interest right there. A topic that I don't really know about because I don't remember anything about it from history class in high school. But this is set in 1846, and it's after the annexation of Texas. The U.S. Army sends military down to the Mexican border to provoke war with Mexico over the Rio Grande boundary. And so we're following a woman in Mexico who is a healer, and her husband is killed, and she is just trying to help her country in any way she can. And then we're also following an Irish Yankee who comes down, and he is just like horrified by what's going on, and he ends up deserting and going over to the Mexican side and fighting for Mexico. And he ends up forming the St. Patrick's Battalion, which is a band of Irish soldiers that fought for Mexico's freedom. And so they ended up doing that, and I guess this is all based off of stuff that really happened. But anyway, the Irish guy and the Mexican woman end up meeting, sparks fly, but beyond that, it's just this saga about the U.S.-Mexico border and its origin story, I guess, and how it's still affecting us to this day. And so that one sounded really, really interesting as well. And yeah, that one was A Ballad of Love and Glory by Reina Grande. I think I had said that. All right, and then the last one on this list is another historical fiction. This is The Diamond Eye by Kate Quinn. I have yet to read Kate Quinn. I know I should have already read her. This might be my first one because this one sounds amazing. This is about a librarian in Kiev who ends up becoming a sniper during World War II. So she is a quiet librarian. Mila Pavlichenko. So it is about her and her life as a librarian, and then once Hitler invades Russia, she is sent to fight in the war. She's handed a rifle. She becomes a sniper. She ends up becoming Lady Death, who was one of the deadliest killers from the Russian army, and she had 300 kills, and then after that kind of makes news, she ends up being sent over to America on a goodwill tour and becoming friends with Eleanor Roosevelt. And then things start kind of happening from there, and like people from our past show up, and like things get dicey, and it just sounds really good. So yeah, that is The Diamond Eye by Kate Quinn, and that comes out on March 29th. So those are my top 10 books that I am the most excited about that are coming out in January, February, and March of 2022. If you are super excited about any of these, let me know. And if you are excited about something else that I didn't mention, what is your most anticipated release for the first quarter? Let me know that as well. And yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you stick around and subscribe. And until next time, see ya.